Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from the Frontier. Thank you, as always, for stopping by. I'm grateful. I did an interview over the weekend with Peter Ndoro of SABC, an old friend for many years, and I was just trying to give a first impression of the court decision, the stock market reaction, and how we were going to move the dial forward. So take a look if you've got a second. Macro thoughts, Bitcoin. Take a look at this long-term chart. Obviously, we saw an incredibly dramatic move yesterday because of the Chinese intervention. But this is a long-term chart from Rafi. It was indeed Black Monday. China bans initial coin offerings, causing crypto market crash. In total, over $30 billion flows out of cryptocurrency on Monday. Bitcoin itself tumbled as much as 11.4% after China declared initial coin offerings illegal. Tumbled the most since July, where China asked all related fundraising activity to be halted immediately, issuing the strongest regulatory challenge so far to the burgeoning market for digital token sales. The People's Bank of China said on its website Monday that it had completed investigations into ICOs and will strictly punish offerings in the future while penalizing legal violations in ones already completed. The regulator said those who had already raised money must provide refunds, though it didn't specify how the money would be paid back to investors. It also said digital token financing and trading platforms are prohibited from doing conversions of coins with fiat currencies. Digital tokens can't be used as currency on the market, and banks are forbidden from offering services to initial coin offerings. So, very big and very dramatic move that we saw. And right now, Bitcoin is up a little bit, but it's meaningless. Just over 1%. Ether, which I've been looking at, dipped below 300, it's back at 310. And here's copper. Take a look at this chart. And it's been an inexorable march towards $7,000 a metric ton. Metal has gained 48% over the past year, a standout performance. That's the best by some margin at the London Metal Exchange's main industrial metals index. And then tea commodity, copper at an interesting juncture here. And, the same chap was saying that it was 10% overvalued. And just looking at that chart, it looks as if it could go a lot higher, in my view. Although Joe Claudio is talking about it being 10% overvalued, but in my experience, market overvaluation can become even more dramatic than 10%. Home thoughts, looking forward to being in the Tsavo with the family this weekend, and Finch Hattons, which we visited a couple of times and which we really enjoy. I want to get to Lake Jipe. I've never been there. Nick Mutete, who I follow on Twitter, tweeted to me June 2017, more elephants, Lake Jipe, Tsavo National Park, and I've come across it. So many of the books I like reading, so I'm looking forward to that. And I've got various other places I want to visit. Tsavo National Park covers an area of 9,065 square kilometers. The experience, when you compare it to somewhere like the Masai Mara, is entirely different because of the vast distances and the difficulty around seeing things. But it's an extraordinary place, and I love it. Good news for elephants in Masai Mara is a recent census found the population has increased by 72%, rebounding after threats from poaching and conflict with humans. Elephant numbers in Masai Mara have been promising. And look at this photograph from James Forsyth of Getty Images. Take a look at this. This is Wayaki Way into town, just around the corner from where I am. Exhibition on Swahili arts features objects shown in the US for the first time. All three of these objects in this image are pretty interesting to me. Political reflections. This is President Obama's letter to President Trump on Inauguration Day. We are just temporary occupants of this office. Powerful. The Washington Post is saying something is seriously off about this president. President Trump, in 3 very different settings over the past few days, reminded us how unsuited he is for the job. Increasingly, his presidency is defined by blatant lies, an empathy deficit, and a frightful lack of ability to navigate through dire international crises. Each has been on display. His over-the-top public rhetoric does not intimidate Kim Jung Un. It appears to provoke him. One is left still agog at Trump's dishonesty, narcissism, and inability to project the calmness and discipline we expect from a president. Those who thought he'd grow in office, or who perpetually think he's pivoting or becoming presidential, have engaged in dangerous delusion. One wonders how long we can muddle on with a president this unsuitable without provoking a constitutional or international calamity. That's why I wrote a piece in May called Apocalypse Trump. And I signed off by saying we are living in an unprecedented moment. Kudos to humanity for maneuvering ourselves into a situation where all our lives depend on the wisdom of Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump. That's tiny revolution. The South Korean Navy has released a new image of live fire drills in direct response to North Korean provocations. Tensions continue to escalate. That's from Will Ripley at CNN. South Korea has also detected North Korea missile launch preparation, possibly preparing ICBM missile launch. Yonhap. Haley at the UN, North Korea is begging for war. China's UN convoy calls on Pyongyang to stop taking actions that are wrong and urges related parties to take practical measures. Alistair Gale, another way to look at North Korea's nuclear tests. See they've been escalating and escalating. South Korean agents have learned Kim Jong-un's first child is a son, giving the dictatorship an heir. Sunday Times. Nanex asks, does Kim Jong-un have a mum? Now, just go back to Saddam Hussein, who never had nuclear weapons. Go back to Gaddafi. He never had nuclear weapons. What happened to both of them? One was hung by the neck, one was killed, buggered with a bomb. And the lesson was, and I think Kim learnt it, is that you need to have a deterrent. And he has a deterrent and is consistently showing. And it's a very finely calibrated way of showing the world. Lobbed it over Japan, at this enormous trajectory, told the Japanese, you better go quiet. South Korea, it's unfathomable to have a war with North Korea, because you've got 10 million people in the line of fire. So that is not possible too. So I think actually he has a deterrent. And then for all the bluster, I don't know what anyone's going to do about it. And furthermore, I think China uses him as an attack dog. Then Xi, despite the achievements BRICS has made, the potential for cooperation has yet to be fully unleashed, he said. China Rising was a piece of mine from the 28th of August 2017. Please take a look. I was talking about how they control the South China Sea and how Xi Jinping's One Belt, One Road program binds the world to Beijing because all the roads and railways have but one destination, and it's China. In this photograph, leaders of BRICS nations, dialogue partners, take a group photo in China's coastal city of Xiamen. Rohingya exodus points to a humanitarian crisis in Myanmar. You can say that again. Soldiers descended on the fishing village of Donchapara in Myanmar's western Rakhine state on Friday, just as the holy period of Eid al-Adha was beginning. They attacked the village from a ship, said Rehana Khatun, a 30-year-old mother of 3 from the country's Rohingya minority, who describes how the soldiers doused the houses with petrol and set them ablaze. Ms. Khatun says her 2 brothers were killed and her husband and father are missing. She escaped on foot for Kutapalong, a refugee camp at the Bangladesh border. Her story echoes those of others among the tens of thousands of Muslim Rohingya refugees who have streamed into Bangladesh in less than 2 weeks. Malala has called out Aung San Suu Kyi over her silence on Rohingya. It's just appalling. I mean, it's incredible. You get awarded a Nobel Peace Prize because of the surety of your moral compass. I don't know, she hasn't said a word. The problem isn't that Africa isn't a front burner issue in the White House. That is only the case in exceptional circumstances. This is about the failure to appoint a substantive US Assistant Secretary of State for Africa, and that Washington might be missing something here. This is the greatest statewide heat wave ever recorded in California. Record set from Bay Area to Palm Springs. This is what I said, we're all frogs in boiling water. And look at this, ISIS are using women on their front line. This is a photograph of the Daily Star, which kind of caught me off guard. It's because of the complexity of the psychoanalysis around that photograph. Just think about it. ISIS are using women on their front line. Google and Facebook won the direct response sweepstakes at everyone else's expense. The secret of Facebook's success is that the company, along with Google, has cornered nearly every dollar of so-called direct response advertisements. These are the precision ads in which there is a measurable goal. If I see a classified ad in the newspaper for a used car and call the owner for a test drive, that's a clear effect of that ad. Both Google and Facebook know the next phase of financial success relies on the handsome brother of direct response called brand advertising. Those are the TV commercials of happy hipsters swilling Coca-Cola at their cookouts. These ads don't have an immediate goal. The idea is to give people warm feelings about that particular brand of sugared water. For a long time, brand advertising and the internet have been like oil and water, and television has been the favorite home of brand marketeers. That's why more than 1/3 of global advertising is spent on TV commercials. Facebook is also trying to bend brand advertising to fit outside of familiar television landscapes. Facebook's Sheryl Sandberg has said brand advertising works best when companies tailor their messages to catch the eye of people scrolling Facebook on their phones. She has called this thumb-stopping creative. Let's move on to the currency markets. Euro dollar 118.80, dollar index 92.85, Japanese yen back above 109.50 at 109.52. Swissy 0.9612, the pound 129.22, the Australian dollar 0.7964, India rupee 63.975, South Korean won 1131.29. It's actually behaved very well. The Rial 314.20, Egyptian pound 617.61, and the Rand at 1292.26. The dollar index, and this is a chart from late yesterday afternoon, again from Gian Claudio, dollar index, he said then it was holding above the moving average, but take a look at his chart. And actually, I think the economy will surprise to the upside in the second half, but against that we've got this geopolitical risk factor, which is largely unfathomable, of Donald Trump. Euro versus the dollar last at 118.80. I think it can retrace as far as 114.50 without violating the bull move, but I don't know what's going to shake it up. Draghi has been very quiet, and we'll have to see what magic rabbit he pulls out of his hat. Gold has extended a rally to a 12-month high after the North Korea nuke test. Bullion jumped as high as 1338, highest level since September 27, but we're currently at 1330. Take you back to the Ben Bernanke comment, people hold gold as protection against what we call tail risks, really, really bad outcomes. And therefore, the purest geopolitical proxy in the markets remains gold. Crude oil, last trading at $47.98. This is interesting. We pushed through a level that I thought was going to hold, but it might still hold. I remain bearish. We might pop up a dollar or two, but I think the pressure's to the downside. In my view, $32 looks far away, but these moves can be quite dramatic and exponential. Sub-Saharan Africa UN Commission of Inquiry on Burundi calls on the ICC to investigate possible crimes against humanity. The press release, I'll upload that for you. Floods in Africa in August killed 25 times more people than Hurricane Harvey did, but you wouldn't know that. Did you know that Zimbabwe is the best performing market in Africa? That's Pius Maturing. The fallout from Bell Pottinger's South Africa scandal is on the front pages of UK business papers today. That's from Joe, Wall Street Journal. South African all shares up 11.17% year to date, not far off a record. Dollar versus Rand, I'll put up a 6-month chart here. I think the Rand's going to start to strengthen a little bit, and I like the idea of being long the Rand and short sterling. Because I think in the UK they're not going to put up interest rates for now. Egyptian pound versus the dollar, that's a great success story from an economic point of view. They bit the bullet and they're now seeing the benefits. Nigerian all share, where they've announced they've emerged from a recession, Nairametrics, but we knew that because we saw that from the light data, satellite light data. Nigerian all shares up 32.11% year to date. Ghana Stock Exchange is up 44.97% year to date. Moody's says court ruling on Kenyan election is credit negative. Credit rating agency Moody's said on Monday that a ruling by Kenya's Supreme Court to invalidate last month's presidential election result was a credit negative for the East African country. Moody's said in a statement that the ruling would prolong a period of political uncertainty that has damaged business confidence and undermined growth in Kenya. The events would further stymie the development of policies to address the country's main credit challenges, in particular the large fiscal deficit of 10% of GDP, they added. And that was largely what I was kind of saying. My article over the weekend, which I'll get to in a moment. Kenya will hold rerun of presidential election on October the 17th. Raila Odinga rejects October 17th repeat poll date as announced by the IEBC yesterday, says the coalition was not consulted. The Supreme Court gave, and then the Kenya government says it will not replace the election board ahead of the new elections ordered by the Supreme Court. That's the presidential spokesperson. And I wrote, following on Moody's, what they were saying, court ruling impacts economy. I said markets hate uncertainty is a refrain that reverberates through the markets. On Friday we saw a big outside bearish reaction. I was also asking for the principals to deconflict their language. How the demand for sand is killing rivers, interesting piece in the BBC, so much so that a UN report estimated global sand use in 2012 alone could have created a concrete wall 27 meters high by 27 meters wide around the equator. We need not go to the beach to be surrounded by sand. Our cities are essentially giant, towering sand castles disguised in concrete. In this photograph, you'll see a sand dredger just beyond the reef in Tiwi, kicks up giant plumes of sand in the ocean. A beach in Tiwi along Kenya's coast where sand dredging has caused the beach to subside and start to disappear. Oh boy. Nairobi all share remains up 20.24% this year, but has corrected 5.2199% over the 2 sessions since we learned the Supreme Court decision. Market cap has declined by 129.622 billion shillings over that same period. Safaricom heavily traded yesterday, about 1.3 billion shillings worth of shares. It's up 30.39% on a total return basis year to date. Even after this 5.88% correction we've seen. NSE 20 is up 19.48% year to date, but fell 5.4711% since that Supreme Court decision. Uchumi has won a 2.3 billion shilling Nairobi land case, so that's interesting. And it's one of the shares that's trading higher this morning. I really appreciate you stopping by. If you want to follow the stock market, because it's pretty exciting stuff these days, just register on rich.co.ke. It's free. Get a password, go to Rich Live, and if you've got any issues, tweet me up, or Martin, or any of us, we'll give you what you need. Once again, thank you.